I was earning six figures, living what looked like a very successful life. And yet somehow every month I was worse than broke because I was going into debt every single month. And that was so confusing because on the outside, I was doing everything right and my life looked great. In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly why this happens to so many successful women and what you can do to get out of that cycle. I have my dream career. I audit financial institutions. I go in and I look under the hood and then I tell board members and CEOs what they can do to improve their financial systems. I traveled for work. I looked successful. So from the outside, I looked like I had everything together. But every paycheck, I would ask myself, where is my money even going? I would tell myself lies. I would tell myself that I would make it up at the next paycheck. I would tell myself that I just needed this one thing. I would put myself into programs and webinars and seminars and mentors just to help me understand what was going on, not with my money necessarily, but why I was sabotaging and what I was doing with my mindset to be in a state of chaos. These were both big and little things. So this was like going to NFL games, going on trips, splurging on dinners and drinks and nights out, getting myself really fancy clothes. As soon as I had money in my account, I would spend it, feeling like I had to get rid of this money as soon as possible. I had to buy something to help myself feel better. I was looking for dopamine hits to try to solve what I was feeling on the inside, was lack, scarcity, feeling like I didn't deserve money, feeling like I wasn't good enough. And those were the things that were actually contributing to my paycheck to paycheck cycle. I actually thought that if I just got to the next promotion or I just got to the next raise, that all of my problems would be solved and I would finally have enough money. And guess what? I ended up making it to six figures and it still wasn't enough money because I wasn't enough on the inside. Even though I was making more money, it didn't automatically turn off the programming that I had from when I was a very little kid. This is probably the programming that you are actually carrying with you as well. And maybe you just don't know it yet. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Your parents didn't talk about money, or if they did, it was always about how they didn't have enough. You were constantly told as a kid that money doesn't grow on trees. You weren't able to get things for yourself, or you were made to feel that money was something that was unattainable. And so now that you're actually making good money and now that you actually feel financially supported, you're still feeling those same feelings from your childhood. Does this ring a bell? Is this resonating at all? And here's the thing that I realized, that the more money I had, the louder those feelings actually got because they weren't making sense with my reality. In my head, I was like, I'm making good money. I'm able to do a lot of things myself financially. So why am I living paycheck to paycheck? This isn't making sense. And so the disconnect is something that kind of starts to scream at you. What you're earning isn't making sense with how you're actually feeling in reality. Money is more emotional, I think, than a lot of people realize. I actually started to get really curious and I started doing a lot of deep diving. And one of the things that I was doing was journaling a lot. I didn't have a traditional therapist at the time, but I eventually did get one once I figured out the truth. And as I was going through this process and I was sorting through why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling and why I have certain relationships with money, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And once it hit me, I could not unsee it. When the truth hits you, it hurts. It felt like I ran straight into a brick wall and it was just undeniable. It just wasn't making sense to me. How come I'm earning six figures and yet I'm $70,000 in debt? This does not make sense. I realized it wasn't actually how much I was making that was the problem. It wasn't what I was spending was the problem. It was how I was thinking about money and my relationship with myself, how I felt on the inside. And I realized that everything that I was doing was all my fault. I was putting a lot of blame on everything outside of me to try to make sense of what was going on. Of course, it must be my parents' fault, right? It must be my teacher's fault. It must be because of my ex relationships, that didn't work out for me. I had to start over several times. I was looking for all of these external factors to blame instead of actually taking a hard look at myself and realizing that it's actually all my fault. And I know that's really hard to hear. So I'm going to hold your hand for this and I'll explain in a bit. There's a lot of subconscious scripts below the surface that is running in the background. And when you start realizing there's a disconnect between the way you're living your life and how you think your life should be going, there's usually something subconscious and something deeper going on that you have to bring up to the surface and do the work for. One of the invisible scripts that I was always telling myself was that money was scarce, that I'll never have enough, that I'll never deserve to be financially stable. And guess what? That actually came to fruition, and I was living that life. I did not like how that felt. One of the exact reasons why high earners get stuck in that paycheck to paycheck cycle. If you like this content, please subscribe. I make videos on personal finance and money mindset, and I would love to have you as part of the group. How does this actually manifest and show up in your life? It shows up as underlying sabotage. It shows up as booking a trip that you put on your card that you tell yourself you're going to pay back with some kind of bonus later. This is justifying and rationalizing eating out when you know that you don't have the money to be able to afford that. This means going above and beyond your budget to get a nicer car or a bigger house, or something where you tell yourself, I'm going to grow into my income and it's going to be okay in the long run. Those are ways that you sabotage yourself to have less money because you feel like you don't deserve the money, or you feel like, oh, cat butt. Bailey, say hi. Pretty girl. This is how it shows up, is you do things counterintuitive to what you know you should do. Your tail's in the way. So what do? You have to bring it up to the surface. You have to identify it, because a lot of times it's invisible, and asking yourself questions like, why am I doing what I do? Why do I feel like this? What are my feelings around money? How do I feel about money? How do I feel about finances? How do I feel about debt? And asking yourself what stories from your childhood are playing into the role that you need to heal, that doesn't serve you anymore, that you can say, thank you so much for giving me lessons when I was a kid, but I don't like those lessons and I don't want those lessons. I want something different. I'm going to feel good and healthy and amazing. It's such a powerful way to take control of your experience and take control of your life. This does not happen overnight. It's something that I worked on for several years. You can be really proud of yourself because you start making financial changes. You know that the decisions that you're making for yourself are going to help. And so that's something to be really proud of. Another thing that I had to do was change my stories. I had to think of all kinds of stories that I had from when I was a kid that my parents told me, or someone influential told me, that I subconsciously took on as my own. I had to change those stories. You have to think of a new story that replaces the old story. If you grew up in scarcity, a new story could be that when you started your first full-time job, that's a really powerful story. You were able to go out and get a job and be able to make money. Now, it might not seem like a big deal, but that's just one story to support. I know that I have the tools to be able to go out and find employment. So you're finding these stories that exist, that are true, that you've already done, to replace the old story that you've been running in the background this whole time. And so those are the stories that I had to actually start integrating into my life, telling myself I am resourceful, I am respectful of money, I'm able to figure things out and get the things that I want. I have tools at my disposal, and I can be really creative to get to the goals that I want and not feel scarce. It was very empowering to realize those things. And so that's what I want you to do, is find empowering stories to replace the disempowering stories. This is programming. This is stuff that you have been carrying with you since you were really little. It was things that you learned and you were taught to be small. And you don't have to do that anymore. It's okay to feel good about money. It's okay to not feel guilty with the income that you're making. One of the other things that high earners do is that we take on ideals that other people put pressure on us to do. So these are societal pressures, these are family pressures, these are work pressures to maybe look a certain way or act a certain way or have a certain amount of things in life that give you status. But honestly, the true status is just building your wealth, moving in silence and building up your own wealth. So at the end of the day, you'll be taken care of. Because I've learned in life that you cannot depend on anybody or anything or any government or any job. You have to be working towards things to help take care of yourself. A lot of high earners think they're going to have this income forever. Things happen in life where you could lose your job, or something could happen, or you have to move. If you're taking the money that you're making now and you're helping build your own wealth, that's just going to take care of you when you can no longer work. You know, that's going to help take care of your health care. That's going to help take care of your lifestyle. There's very few things that I would be dependent on today because of how volatile everything is. I don't depend on Social Security, for example. I know that if there's anything that I want in life, I have to go out and get it myself. I think you can probably relate to that as well. But be careful when you're spending money on things that are other people's priorities. It really needs to be what you want. You need to be smart with your money because you're not going to have it forever. And so I want you to be able to put some money away for yourself, yourself and help grow that for your future when you're no longer able to work or when you no longer want to work. Okay, so back to holding your hand. When I realized my financial situation was all my fault, that's what hit me like a brick wall. I actually figured out that I had complete control over the money I was earning, the money that I was spending. It wasn't anybody else's decision but my own. And I had programs running in the background subconsciously that I had complete control over once I was aware of them to change them and to fix them. You may not have gotten yourself into the situation that you're in. Yes, you may have had family relationships that put a lot of fear into you or a lot of guilt or a lot of scarcity around money, but you are 110% capable to change that around and change that relationship around. This realization that my family was still stuck in this scarcity mindset. They never changed it. They never let go of it. And for me, I was like, I don't want that to be my truth. I don't want to carry that around because then it makes me feel like I am the beneficiary of whatever life decides to throw at me versus the other flip side of that is that life is happening for me. Even if a situation doesn't seem good or doesn't seem like it's benefiting me, I'm choosing to believe that I lost my job for a reason to help me find a new one, a better one, that I had to let go of my old house because of whatever reason it wasn't serving me, and I'm going to find an even better one that is like perfect for me. It's just these mindset choices. You will actually see that as you start to do this work, you'll find out that your mind is actually working for you. If you tell it that money is scarce, then that's all you're going to see. If you tell it that you will always have money available and that money is always going to come to you, then you're going to find that. And it's these little things along the way that I would tell myself and I would see as like supporting that. This could be like earning interest on my bank account. This could be finding coins in the street. This could be getting a free item at a restaurant. It's all these little things that you start to notice and you start to see that actually benefits you. I had so much abundance a couple years ago before I went through a very tragic situation. So I'm slowly rebuilding this mindset as well. Coming out of depression, life will happen and this isn't going to be perfect, but it is something that I would encourage you to work on because it does put you in a more empowering position. It makes you feel like everything is in your control, that there's nothing to be worried about, nothing to be afraid of, because you constantly have your finances working for you. You constantly have your resources and tools available to you because of the stories that you reteach yourself for things that you've already been doing that are showing you that you are more than capable, that you don't even remember. You don't even think about it because you've told your mind to look for scarcity or you told your mind to look for guilt versus telling your mind to look for generosity and telling your mind to look for financial peace. What you tell yourself is what you will see. So start finding yourself really empowering stories. Start changing how you think about money. Start getting really curious on maybe the relationship that you have with money and start to change things around if that's what you truly want, because I've done it. Once you start to get things dialed in on the inside, and again, it's going to take some time, but start making small changes to your finances. Start prioritizing your money a little differently. Start acknowledging that when you have these habits to go out and spend, watch what you're doing and then make a conscious decision to go do something else or change that habit. Because a lot of times you're running on autopilot and you're just doing stuff instead of realizing you have a choice. If you're going out to go grocery shopping, you can have a list in place, for example, and you stick to that list so that you stay within your budget and you're honoring the money that you have. Maybe with Amazon, you have to set parameters in place where you're only going to go shopping on Amazon like once a week. And when you're not on it, you actually close that app down. You have to do things to shake yourself out of the old habit and then put something else in place to get a new habit down, a healthier habit, a habit that reflects how you're starting to feel on the inside. Like, what would be the better way to handle your finances? What would be the healthier way to honor yourself? What would be something that your future self would want you to do? And then start putting those things in place and then watch what happens. Slowly over time, things will actually start to improve and then the old habits won't feel as good. After I started getting my finances in order, I started to really think about what mattered to me the most. And as a high earner, I do have more discretion on where my money goes. There are certain things that I prioritize that are more important to me, I would say, than other things. I really value going on trips and visiting my family. That's something that I think is priceless. I was away from my family for a long time, so it's nice to be able to have money that I set aside so that when I want to go on a trip, it's debt free. When you start to figure out your own priorities, it's really going to help you align your money with the things that you actually want. For me, it's not about a lot of stuff, but there's nothing wrong if that's things that you want, if you want a new bag or you want a nice car, but putting that in your budget and making that a financial priority, so then now you're in control of that. You're not a product of what someone else wants, because you've actually taken the time to really think about what you want and how you're going to feel once you have that thing. The reason why I say this is because it gives you more of a feeling of control. And that's the whole idea here, is that you want to feel financially free with your finances. You want to feel like you're getting out of the paycheck to paycheck cycle. Now, as a high earner, everything I make is aligned with the things that I want. All of that money is allocated. I'm not going into debt for anything. I'm not really spending on anything that's frivolous or unplanned. And my money has a job, it has a goal, it's working for me. It's a different feeling. I feel awesome. I love where I am financially. Spent the time to work through the things that I was feeling on the inside, and I'm really focusing on the things that make me feel good, bring me a lot of joy, help my family, help my future, but also I'm able to enjoy today as well. You have the ability to make choices, and you have the responsibility to fix and heal the old lessons and the old stories that no longer are helping you. So I will encourage you to take control of your finances today. You have so much more power than you even know. I am sending you so much love. I hope you have an incredible weekend and do something fun. Let me know what you're up to in the comments. I would love to see what you're doing. Hopefully it's something really fun and exciting. For the next video, I'll be talking about the financial reset that every woman ends up having, and I'll see you in the next one.